What's up, IDP Army? It's your man, Jordan Rains at 50 Shades of Drunk. Got a great show for you guys. A little surprise today. We are going to be talking our Week 10 IDP rankings and doing some questions and answers from the crowd out there watching on YouTube. And yeah, like I said, I got a good show for you guys. Got one of the best rankers in all of IDP in the whole game. And he's gonna spit some game for us. So stick around. It's gonna be a great show. As always, want to give a shout out to all the Patreons. Thank you all for helping keep the lights on, bring the show production value and team and quality up consistently. We appreciate you all. And like I said, I have one of the best IDP rankers in the game, my man, Master IDP. He's verified on Twitter. Leo, how's it going, brother?
Hey Jordan, thanks for having me on. You can find me at Master IDP on Twitter.
Yes,
I got
sir.
the check
Yes,
mark.
sir.
I paid that $8.
Hey, you're the most certified. Like I said right before we came on, you're the most verified person we've had on here besides Gary Davenport that's an IDP head. So rock and roll, baby. We're all about it. The more IDP can go up, the better, the better. Yeah, I've been trying to get you on for a little while, talking to Mace and all that. How's your year been going, man? Just tell the people.
Yeah, it's been going great. I mean, I just started being active on Twitter in May, and Mace was one of the first people I ran into. He's probably one of I think the first 10 followers I had on there. I'm now up to about 1,900, but I mean, May I had 5, and he was one of the first people I started interacting with. So he's been one of my true Twitter friends on there. But it's been going great. I got into writing some articles. I write an every down linebacker article every week, and I got into doing some rankings for Fantasy Pros, and currently the number 2 IDP ranker at Fantasy Pros. Trying out some offensive rankings now too. So it's been going great. Each week I'm trying to get a little bit better.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's been awesome to watch you come in and really like take the scene by storm. Your rankings are on point. Ryan is on notice. Ryan, if you're out there watching this, I'm already at the bottom of the barrel as far as rankings. You all know that, but we appreciate Mace and the connections that he was able to bring us you and have you on. Everybody go make sure you give my man here a follow, and we're just going to get right to the nitty gritty of it today. Since we do have the verified best ranker around. These aren't his rankings exclusively, but we went ahead and threw my rankings, Mace's rankings, and then Leo's rankings into the Fantasy Pros little blender, and it's going to spit out a consensus for us. And we're just going to kind of talk about the season overall. It is week 10 now, so we do have quite a bit of information. Some names that are up here that maybe we didn't think would be here. Some names that are maybe a little bit lower we thought would be higher, etc. So Max Crosby really coming into his own, as we can see here. He's our number 1 consensus. Is he your number 1 this week?
He is my number 1, and I wrote about him in the summer. I mean, he was really due for bigger things than he accomplished last year. I mean, he had a lot of pressures on the quarterback that didn't necessarily amount to sacks. So he's been on my radar as being a top 10 guy all season, and he is my number 1 guy. I really like the matchup against the Colts this week.
Yeah, I mean, double-digit sacks in multiple games this last season. I was looking back on his kind of career the other day because I was making some dynasty adjustments, and he's one of my favorite. My favorite play is tackles for loss. I think they're so undervalued in real fantasy or in real football and in real fantasy. I have a clip saved on my Twitter of Luke Kuechly saying the exact same thing. Max Crosby, every year he's been in the league, has had double-digit tackles for loss, and not just double-digit, like high numbers. He leads the league right now, I'm pretty sure. Still, he was for a while. And he always does that. So to me, that's something I always looked at as like an indicator of future success. I know a lot of guys look at pressures and other types of things, but Max Crosby always kind of producing at tackle for loss numbers has been something that made me always very bullish on him. And he plays a tremendous amount of snaps too for an edge player. I'm sure that's helps boost him up everybody's rankings. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, snaps are still pretty king, and even at defensive line. I mean, especially at linebacker, but you do need a big number of snaps at D line. I mean, Von Miller, I mean, he's great and everything, but his snaps are sometimes a little bit lower, especially when Buffalo gets out to a big lead. But yeah, Max Crosby, great to have those snaps up there, tackles for loss, pressures, all good things for him.
Yeah. So Miles Garrett on our consensus right here, 17. I don't know where he's at for you. Does that feel low, high, or pretty similar to where you have him in your rankings? I just want to talk about, because those are two guys
Yeah.
still very young, but two of the better, bigger names at pass rush that aren't, TJ Watt or Brian Burns.
Yeah, I mean, I have Garrett at number 3, so there one of the
Okay,
three of
pretty
us
big
must have
discrepancy.
one of the three of us must have him a little bit lower. I'm also a Browns fan, so I may be a little bit biased, but
It's
it's
probably
it's
me.
hard for me to put Garrett outside of the top 5. I mean, you've got Bosa and Garrett and Parsons. I mean, it's hard to take those guys out of the top 5 every week.
Parsons is he's different. You know what I mean? He's on that TJ Watt type of level. Got a question here, and I usually run behind on questions, but should I start Parsons or Derwin? So this is kind of a total flex situation. I would lean Parsons. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know what the scoring here is, but yeah, I mean, I generally would go with Parsons. He can get some big plays, and he'll still get some tackles. Give me the linebacker guy, making some plays, and potentially if
Yeah,
you're scoring a bunch in sacks, then I would lean him.
two almost positionless defensive players there. I mean, really, with Derwin James and Micah Parsons. Let's see, anybody else here on this list that we're really looking at? Nwosu, one of our early waiver wire pickups this year, has been producing all year. Where do you have him this week? Looks like he's a consensus top 12 guy for us, or top 15 guy there.
Yeah, I mean, I currently have him at around 25, but I may be a little bit low. I mean, I have been impressed with his numbers, especially as of late. He seems to really be picking it up. Maybe a little bit low on him, but he's looked good. Every week I look at him and I'm like, oh, I should have put him up a little bit higher. And it's like, just kind of keep moving him up a little bit each week.
Yeah, looks like he's hit his career best in total tackles already this season, 24 in 2022. Before that, his career high in 17 games was last year. So he's definitely been a surprise this season. I guess I probably have him a little higher in my rankings just because I'm a little bit I don't want to say I'm an extremist, but I'm not. After a couple of good games and just say like maybe this is who you are now. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, I
pull him
mean,
up
he's
here.
going against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady.
Here.
So, some of those edge guys don't necessarily, feast off of Brady. So, I'm probably down a little bit more this week.
Multi-stack game. Well, and you have to think too, he's probably going to be going up against Leonard Fournette, who's the most basic running back in football right now. So tackle for loss opportunity, and I always weigh that in, even though they don't subscribe to fully IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring yet on Fantasy Pros. The way I generally do it is because when I give my starts to devising, that's probably why I suck at rankings, honestly. But I do generally kind of lean towards the scoring system that I believe is what most people use. And those tackles for loss against Leonard Fournette, that's one thing I look at. I don't know if you ever look at that, and maybe you don't in your scoring in your weekly, just because you do use Fantasy Pros more. But when I go out to rank a lot, I look at the running backs and the quarterbacks a little bit more than like the offensive line, because I'm like, okay, who like sucks? Like who's going to get tackled behind the line of scrimmage like more than other guys, So if like, okay, if I can play a second-rate defensive end who's playing Leonard Fournette, or I can play a first-rate, quote unquote defensive end who's like maybe playing Nick Chubb, now I'm like, okay, maybe there's a little more upside, truly baked into the guy who gets to play the crappy running back because he's going to get him more behind the line of scrimmage. So I don't know if you ever do you ever think about that whenever you are making your DL lineups? Like, do you ever think about the running back?
A little
I do
bit.
that with
I mean,
linebackers too, because I always first games I really noticed that was Roquan Smith versus Dalvin Cook 2 years ago. It was like a Thursday night game, and Roquan Smith had like 4 tackles for loss on Dalvin Cook, and I was just like, that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, with this being my first year in rankings, I mean, linebacker plays such a crucial part of IDP that I've been putting a lot of focus really on those individual matchups, more on the linebackers. And on defensive line, I'm focusing more, like you said, snap counts. I'm looking at pass production. I'm looking at some of that offensive line matchups. If they're really a weak offensive line. probably I'm not that far down into looking at running back matchups, but I'm factoring in probably not only the average points that this defensive lineman has, but also looking at the points allowed per defensive line. So like I'm looking at how much does a Tampa Bay give up to opposing defensive end. So I'm kind of looking at it that way, at the team level, as opposed to kind of diving further down. But this is still my first year doing this.
No, I mean, you're really good at it. So I was just curious, kind of picking your brain a little bit. We got another question here, and for whatever reason, my browser kind of screwed up, so I'm trying to get our rankings back up, and my computer's slow, but I'll try to field some questions here. This is a good one. Winfield Jr. or Julian Love this week? Who you got?
That's a good one. I mean, Winfield, until today, we were a little bit worried about concussion, so I may have to kind of relook at his ranking. But right now, I've got they're right neck and neck. I've got Winfield at 15 and Love at 16. So I'm toss up. I may have to reevaluate Winfield, but I'd go Winfield.
Winfield?
What about you, Jordan? Yeah, I got Winfield. Who do you have, Jordan?
I don't know who I have ahead. I'm still trying to get our rankings to pull up over here, but I'm pretty sure I have Love ahead right now. Let me look real quick. I'll be able to pull up faster on my computer, but I'm probably with you. They're both, I imagine they're both between like 18 and like maybe 30, maybe a little higher. All right, let's see here. DB,
so Love is going against Houston, and so Houston, sometimes they might not get much going on. Winfield going against Seattle, which have been putting up points to linebackers and safeties.
Yeah.
So
looks like I have Winfield at 18 right now, and I have Love at 28. So like I nailed that range right there pretty well, just off the cuff from the hip. But that's they're gonna be guys I want to play this week. I'm gonna try either of them. But if I had to pick one, I'm still gonna go Winfield. He rushes the passer so much, and again, it's coming from my mindset, which is if you're behind the line of scrimmage, you're more likely to produce a tackle for loss or a sack, which in IDP 1-2-3 scoring is a very equitable play. So I'm gonna lean that way when I have the opportunity, and the player who gets used that way if I have the opportunity. Exactly, it's a coin flip. Yeah, that's how so much of fantasy is, though. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't work out. All right, here's another good question: Delpit, Carlton Davis, or Woolen?
Yeah, let me check it out here. I'm just gonna
let me pull up our consensus. I got our DB rankings back, so I'll pull up our consensus and see what they say. Yeah, my computer's overloaded right now. There's just too much heat on the screen right now. Too much IDP heat. Can't handle it.
I just pulled up my rankings, and I've got Delpit ahead. He'll be playing the strong safety against the Dolphins this week, and the Browns have really been struggling at linebacker, so it's been creating extra opportunities for Delpit, who plays the strong safety, the closer into the box. So I've got
we got Delpit as our consensus 26, Woolen as our consensus 24, and then Carlton Davis, where's he at? Looks like he's down a little bit. Man, looks like he's down low. He's all the way down 55.
Okay.
That's probably
not coming from me.
That's probably for me, because I just went through and did my rankings, and I had to put a few guys in, and I might have missed dragging him up. So that's probably my fault. Where did you say you have him this week, though?
30. I've got him at 34.
34. I think I have Mike Edwards in this area.
If you've got cornerbacks, if you've got a cornerback league, he'll be somebody you want to put in. But generally, I defer to the safeties if I have to decide between a corner and a safety.
If we're talking, I usually just assume most people are also playing on sleeper, based on that question. So, general consensus, I totally 100% agree. You're going to want to play your safety over your cornerback, unless it's like those rare scenarios where you have like one of these god cornerbacks, like Marlon Humphrey or Trevon Diggs in a juicy looking matchup, something like that. Winfield in my lineup plus Sunday morning. All right, there you go. You're ready to rock.
Okay.
X is out. Yeah, the Xavier McKinney, is he out? I expect Belton to play box snaps. All right. Yeah, that was a weird. I don't know. Did you read that? Apparently, he was on a 4-wheeler ATV accident. Hurt his hand.
I did read that. Yeah, it was kind of surprising because I think they were coming back from bye this week and just came out of the blue that he's going to be out
Yeah,
this week.
not what you want from a second year player. I'm not gonna say he's goofing off or anything like that. I don't want, but I mean, it's just like you don't want to. That's not the headline I wanted to read. Like, oh, Xavier McKinney like rolled a 4-wheeler like on his off week. Like, what? Chill, my guy, chill.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's a good one, and then we'll go back. Well, there's a good reason to go over to our linebacker rankings, but pick two: Milano, Levante, or Demario.
Okay, yeah. Let me pull up. I know Demario is going to be up there for me. Let me check out the other two.
Looks like we have consensus. David's at 12, Demario Davis is at 19, and then Milano is at 28. Let me see what I got here. I've been kind of lowering Milano. I'm always just kind of low on Milano, though, unfortunately. Like I was high on him forever. Man, I got Demario Davis at 22. That's not right. I gotta change that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Demario at 19, and the thing, it's hard to, if Tremaine Edmonds, I'll be monitoring that situation. If Tremaine Edmonds is out, it kind of gives Milano a boost. But yes, I would probably sit Milano unless Edmonds is out. So I'd be prepared to kind of flip those two guys, Levante versus Milano, depending on status of Edmonds.
So our consensus is Levante David is number 1, and then Demario 2.
That's what it looks like. So I would go with those two, but I would be prepared to potentially
Slide
switch
in Milano if need be.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I don't know where I have Milano this week in my rankings. Yeah, I'm a little lower on him than I probably should be too. That's why you're here to help the people, save them from me.
Yeah, I mean Buffalo plays Minnesota. I mean, I think Minnesota has been putting up decent points to linebackers, so I could see.
What about Taki? He's a guy that is kind of one of these. For me, he was kind of how I viewed Alex Highsmith. Like he was my Alex Highsmith the year before, like kind of an edge guy, but can also maybe be play some linebacker. But he hasn't really panned out. I don't know though. Do you have any strong takes on Taki at the moment?
Well, just like we just talked about with Milano getting a boost. I mean, it looks like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah for the Browns, JOK. Looks like he if he doesn't play, like really gives a boost to playing time for Taki. So
yeah,
again, it's so important to monitor injuries in IDP. So like if JOK is out, Taki is probably going to be 80% playing, and he'll be put up decent numbers. I currently have him ranked LB 42. So kind of in a little bit lower, the LB4 range, but
yeah.
It's Deion Jones. Taki played more snaps than Deion Jones last week.
Yeah,
that could flip this week. So there's a little bit of risk, but if JOK is out, they really don't have much behind those two guys. So I'd throw him in.
You could throw him in, exactly. Like you could throw him. I don't think he's going to be anything prolific, but if you need to in a pinch, you could do worse. Not a lot worse, but you could do worse. Denzel Ward, I don't know. I mean, in my eyes, the Browns defense isn't just, I don't know, like Billy said on the channel early in the season, he's like, people realize the Browns defense is not that good. So maybe he gets picked on. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I don't do a lot of cornerback specific analysis.
I generally, I don't put too much weight into cornerbacks. I mean, give me the safeties all day. But if you're in a cornerback league and they play the Dolphins this week,
that could be a lot of tackles out there.
Yeah, I mean Ward is more of an outside guy, I would think. So I don't know that he'd be going up against, a slot guy. I assume Hill's in the slot. I'm not sure.
Hill's everywhere. Hill's in the backfield. He's out wide. He's in the slot. He's lined up at running back. Tyreek Hill special. Another one of those positionless football players.
Yeah, Ward's a decent cornerback option, but again, give me the safety.
Sam Wow says Blake Martinez retiring right when he's getting himself back. At least he allowed me to slide Luvu into my starting lineup last night. Yeah, at least he let you know before like Friday. That was kind of a weird thing with him because he, putted around, got on a team. He plays on the practice squad, just like working out, I guess. And then finally he gets a situation where he can go play. That to me, that there might be more of an indication to the overall disarray of the organization than anything to do with Blake Martinez, because he's only 25, 26 years old. I mean, he was one of the highest paid linebackers like this time 2 years ago, and he's just retiring.
I think he's 28, but
Is he that old now? Jeez Louise.
yeah, I'm pretty sure from what I
Still pretty
think I
young. I
saw
mean, for a
somewhere.
linebacker, that's
Well,
still
yeah,
pretty young.
that's still, yeah, there's still a few years left in his
Yeah.
body, but maybe she saw the writing was on the wall, and
Yeah, I wouldn't be
that
surprised.
organization. Yeah, I think you're right. You're right on point that the organization, there's a lot of stuff going on there that people
Yeah.
just don't want to be part of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they just cut a first round pick. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Cake says I have Mahomes, Saquon, but all right, I'm gonna skip through your defense or offensive question today, my guy. Come back on Sunday morning. Blake Martinez broke my heart. Yeah, he was about to get over 30 again this week. Yeah, he built you up and he let you down.
Yeah, it was funny that I somehow managed to miss putting him in my rankings on Thursday, and I got somebody calling me out on it, and I put him in on Thursday night, and after the football game on Thursday night, I put him in my rankings, and I put him in at linebacker 6, and then then it's like it's Friday, I'm pulling him out already, so it's like I didn't even have him in there for 24 hours, and
oh man, football. I mean, that the only constant is change. That's it. I mean, if you have a constant in your formula that's not just nothing, everything is wrecked, it's wrong. Evans played. James is a lock. 2 linebackers, 1 safety, plus a flex. I have Harris, Kirksey, Morrow, and Rodrigo out. Love Belton or Rodney McLeod. All right, so 2 linebackers and a safety and a flex. You already have one of your linebackers played. James is a lock, so is your safety spot. So you need a linebacker and a flex. I would maybe consider playing both of the linebackers for Houston, wouldn't you?
yeah, I mean I might go Morrow and Morrow and Kirksey, but you could make an argument for Harris as well. But I'd probably go Kirksey and Morrow right now. I think with Roquan being out, it gives Morrow a few more opportunities than he had before.
Fair. Who do they play this upcoming week? It's supposed like a good game, right? The Chicago game.
Yeah, they play Detroit, which
that's
put
gonna
up
be
some
fun.
points.
That's such a fun. That's like such. There's sometimes these games that come up where it's like it's such an interesting little microcosm. Like last night's game, I watched I'll be real with every one of y'all. I watched like the first 20 minutes and like 20 minutes, not on like the play clock, like 20 minutes. So like 9 minutes of football, and then I watched Harry Potter. That shit was boring. Straight up. I put on Harry Potter. The extended editions are on Peacock. There's a little free, Matthew Berry hit me up. Little Peacock, while working that in there. But I watched Harry Potter and I don't feel like I missed much. Mr. Brian Burns sack, I'll take it. I'm happy for him. But that game, Chicago, Detroit, so many interesting storylines from quarterbacks to running backs to records. And then it's just an actual division rivalry that's like interesting. So, yeah, I might throw Morrow in just to get a little action, and maybe just throw in Morrow and Rodrigo if you want to get real crazy.
Well, he's saying Rodrigo's out, or thinking he's going to be
question. Out. And yeah, Derek Barnes. I guess we could quickly. You want to talk about Derek Barnes? How are you kind of approaching him? He had a big game this last week, kind of out of nowhere.
Well, yeah. So the question mark is we don't know if Rodrigo is going to play. I think he had limited practices. Nobody in the week thought he had a chance to play this week, but he put in 2 limited practices, so it really is a question mark. But if Rodrigo's out, it does give Barnes a big boost. And I think I saw somewhere that he's got some other position eligibility. Do you know on Sleeper?
Yeah, he on position on Sleeper. Here, I'll pull it up. He's DL and linebacker eligible, and I pointed that out to people like week 2, and I was like, "Yo, for a young guy, I don't know if he'll have it forever, but that's valuable stuff, Okay.
Yeah. So if Rodriguez is out, if Malcolm Rodriguez is out, and Barnes, is in there, if Barnes is available and you can put him in a D line, like you're not going to find, much better options out there.
No, you're not. As a plug and play guy, definitely not. 12 tackles and a sack. I mean, to get 12 tackles out of a player you can put in a defensive line spot, I mean, they don't make them like that. They just don't exist. So that's like free money right there.
Yeah. So I definitely monitor Rodrigo on that. But
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and they obviously like him more. My flip take on that is if he's on your waiver wire in Dynasty for any reason whatsoever, make sure he's not. Because, I mean, eventually Anzalone is going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually the whole organization is going to be flipped on its head. A 23-year-old linebacker is something that I think is probably going to last. And if this LB tag lasts, that's some value you really can't recreate out there in fantasy land.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it won't last for next year, but if something happens to one of those guys, it sounded like Barnes played really well this past week. It sounded like the coaching staff was really happy with what he did. So they might be buying into him for a change. I don't think they were really putting him out there too much, but maybe this will turn the corner for him.
Richie asking a defensive question, Pittsburgh or Arizona. Richie and everyone in the crowd, this is my moment to tell you that if you play defensive fantasy football, you should stop. Stop doing it. It's disrespectful. It's rude, and I refuse to answer that question. Play with the players or don't play. All right. And also, I love you, and it's okay, but I just go find somebody else to answer that. Afternoon, gents. Full PPR, Judy or Josh Palmer. That's how I feel, Trey. I'll answer this quickly. I'll probably go Judy here.
Yeah, I think I would go Judy as well. I think he's got a decent chance to do something this week.
Here's a good one from J2K Punisher coming through a couple times today. Everyone throw a little thumbs up out here. We appreciate it. Sorry, guys. One more question. Don't be sorry. No problem there. Just saw that Jalen Petrie is available. Small IDP, but who do I keep and trade or keep and start? Petrie and Winfield. I think I'm still going to stay with Winfield there.
It's close. It's a toss-up. I have Petrie slightly ahead, but I may have discounted Winfield a little bit with the concussion earlier, so I'll have to re-look at that one. But right now I've got Petrie ahead.
All right. IDP flex Tremaine Edmonds. If Tremaine Edmonds does not play, Zadarius, Hamlin, or Brisker. Ooh, okay. I would say that even if Tremaine plays, I would consider playing Hamlin and Brisker over him personally. I know he had a lot of tackles the last few weeks, but just as a general rule of thumb, that's not like Tremaine Edmonds is not somebody that you're necessarily going to miss tremendously from your lineup. I have found. Where's he at right now in the year? 10. Well, dang, he said 3 triple digit in a row. That's not bad for him. That's pretty big for him. But again, I mean, they're just tackles though. 13 points this last week. I mean, he just doesn't offer much else.
Yeah.
I like Brisker just because he's everywhere. You know what I mean? Like he's in the backfield, he's downfield picking balls off. Like, give me a guy like that. So that's probably where I would head. What about you?
Yeah. So if he's saying Edmonds is out, you've got the choice between the three. So I mean, first off, between Brisker and Hamlin, I'm going Brisker, and then you're looking at two different positions, and you've got Brisker and Zadarius Smith, and it probably really comes down to how much weight it is in sacks. I mean, if sacks are really weighted, you may want to go to Zadarius, but my default would go go with Brisker here. I agree with you there.
Yeah, and I always tell people, like when it comes down to things like this, for me, and I mean, I don't know if this makes me old school, but it's just like, who do you want to watch play more? Who do you want to see have more success? Like, are you going to be watching the Vikings game? Then put in Zadarius Smith. Like, enhance your experience. Are you going to be watching the Bears game? Then put in Brisker. Enhance your experience. You know what I mean? That gives you someone to root for too. So if it comes down to like either or, like that, like that's always for me. That's always my final call. Is like, who am I going to be watching? Who do I want to root for? How can I make my football watching experience, better? All right. Offensive question. We'll slide by that today. Love you all. Hargrave or Draymond Jones? Sacks 8 points.
Well, that's pretty decent for sacks. I mean, I assume that's got the built-in for tackles for loss in there too, and the tackle points.
Probably.
Probably assume that. But let me pull up.
Or Barnes over them too, and so I guess that means we're talking again sleeper, and that'll default to a DL position. So if you have the option to play Barnes, I would definitely skew that way. Even if Rodrigo's not out, I might skew that way. But man, Hargrave and Draymond Jones are both beasts though from the interior.
Yeah, I mean Hargrave. I mean, I have him slightly ahead. I like his matchup, with Washington. And he really had a strong week on. I think he played Thursday last week and really showed up there. So I'm going with Hargrave right now. I mean, defensive tackle sometimes I knock down a little bit, but he's looked pretty good the last few weeks. So I would go him, but yeah, if Rodriguez is out, I probably would try to maybe roll the dice, with the upside with Barnes. But
Yeah.
8 point sacks, probably still go Barnes if he's free.
Nice. All right, y'all are blowing up the chat. I'm gonna pull back over to the rankings though, and take advantage again of our man Leo giving us some of his precious time. Want to hit on Bobby Wagner. Where do you have him this week? Looks like he is a consensus back end linebacker one now for us. I think it took me about 4 weeks to really come to terms with the fact that he's not like a top end linebacker, just period, and definitely like not for fantasy right now.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been how have you been coping?
I don't know if I've been coping. I mean, I think last week was probably the first week I pulled him down, and of course he goes off. I mean,
I know, no, and
yeah.
100% because I had kind of the similar experience. I was like, oh, he's probably not that good, but I was like, well, I'll still just pull him down to like 6 or 7, and I think I finally dropped him down, and like I was like, I know he's gonna get like a zillion points this week.
It's funny how fantasy works that way. As soon as you bring somebody up, they show out, and Wagner did that last week. I mean, his tackles were still, he had a lot of tackles, but the rest of his production wasn't that high. Like he didn't fill up the other stat sheet. So even though he was the top linebacker tackles, he wasn't the top scorer because he just didn't put up enough in the other areas. So
I mean, really not being overly disruptive this season. Only 2 sacks on the year. Not that like that sacks are everything, but he's usually one of those linebackers that can get home.
Yeah, and one of the things that makes it hard to evaluate him is that with Ernest Jones, snaps kind of fluctuating, going up and down, and when Wagner can be more productive when there's only one linebacker out there, but like when Ernest Jones is out there, he steals a bunch of stuff from Wagner. So you really don't know what they're going to do each week on matchup to matchup. You can try and do your best to guess, but I've got Wagner right now at 6. I'm probably higher than most, but because I've kind of believed in him all season, so I've kind of still haven't adjusted all the way down. Let's see, consensus is 12 overall, but so I'm
12 overall. Looks like he's 11 for the group.
I'm still kind of
64 total tackles on the season, 3 for a loss, 4 quarterback hits. So he turned 2 of those into sacks. That's pretty good. 2 passes defended. I mean, it's been pedestrian so far. Not bad, not terrible, but it's just like, for Bobby Wagner, you would maybe think that there would be a forced fumble or even a fumble recovery somewhere. I mean, he's playing football with Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, right? Like, aren't these the 2 best defensive players in football? How are they not making enough disruptive plays to where a guy as savvy as Bobby Wagner has more meaningful football under his belt this season? So, I don't think he's completely like down and out either per se, but it's been an adjustment to kind of realize, he's kind of in that mold of just a thumper, just a Denzel Perryman. You're not going to get a lot of exciting stuff from Bobby Wagner this year. So that's been a little bit of an adjustment. Dynasty, the move is to definitely trade him away. In a lot of assets right now, people are overvaluing that are a little older.
He's definitely a sell candidate, but if I go back to my draft rankings, I'm pretty sure I had him at 1 or 2. So
speak of the devil, Denzel Perryman relevant now all of a sudden. Diablo, see you later. Blake Martinez, adios.
Perryman's up there.
He's at 23 for our consensus. I'm interested in where I have him right now, but he's a name that made a lot of people a lot of money last year in fantasy.
Yeah, I have him at 10, so I think you guys may be a little bit low on him. I think if he plays, there's really nobody else there, and they have a great matchup too. So there's 2 things going on. I think I adjusted my ranking yesterday and bumped him up. So if he plays, I think he's a top 12 guy. I think this week, not necessarily all season, but for this week, he's got a good shot.
Yeah, Khalil Mack. I don't know where you have him. He started out the season hot. It's kind of weird what's been going on with the Chargers, don't you think? Like, it feels like they should be just a better overall football team in general, just based on so much, but they're just not.
Yeah, it looks like you guys have him a little bit higher. I have him at linebacker 53. I mean, I really consider him more in the
I'm in
defensive
the
line.
DLs right now.
Yeah.
I switched over.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So I don't know if that would have changed where you have them or
Yes.
not. But
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
definitely not that high in the linebackers. But against
Okay.
San
Yes.
Francisco, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, not like, it's not like it's a
Okay. Yeah.
crazy hard matchup per se.
Okay. Gotcha. I didn't switch over, so I have him at 20 for D
All
line.
right. See, so our consensus is pretty close there.
Yes. Yes. I thought you were still over on linebacker, so sorry
No,
about
that's
that.
my bad. That's my bad. You're all good.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been kind of up and down. I think some people expected a little bit more out of him at this point.
Yeah, he started out so hot. I mean, what do you have? Like 2 or 3 sacks in the first game, and I think he's only has like 5 or 6 on the season still. So that'll definitely be a little bit of a letdown. Man. Well, go ahead and field some questions from the chat again for a little bit here, and maybe talk about some of the surprises this year. I don't know about a surprise for you, but Matthew Judon with the most sacks in the league right now is definitely on the surprise list for me.
Yeah, I don't think many people had that on their bingo card this year to have Judon be leading the league in sacks, but you would expect it to be Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt,
Yeah,
Parsons, even Crosby or Aaron Donald, but yeah, to see Judon up there, he's been consistent. It's like every week,
yeah.
I think you pull it up, but
Every week he's getting something done. Yeah.
I've been checking.
I just have this funny memory of Matthew Judon last year when they played the Bills, and he like jumped off sides or something like 2 times in a row, and I just remember they got down in the red zone and Belichick pulled him off the field. And I was like, yeah, man, even Belichick don't let nobody get away with nothing.
No, he sure does, and Belichick plays those matchups too, so
And
like he knows how.
I'm pretty sure the very next like that play they went to his side and they scored. And I was like, Belichick knew that was gonna happen. He still pulled his ass off. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, that's crazy. That's probably why he's having the craziest year of his career right now. He's just doing exactly what he's told.
Yeah, no, he's been up. He's been up there on the top of my. I mean, when I play in MFL, he's a linebacker. So it's.
Mhm.
But when I switch him over into D line, he's always near the top of my grouping.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, looks like we only have 6 players right now on the season in double-digit tackles for loss.
Yeah, he's on bye this week, so
Yeah,
he's not in our rankings, but.
that's why I thought. Well, I mean, even more almost. I'm interested to see where he'll land after this week. See how he can hold up with those sacks. See if he can hold that top spot. But 13 tackles for loss for Zadarius and Max Crosby. Then 11 for Jonathan Allen. And then 10 for Matt Judon, 10 for Daron Payne, and then 10 for Brian Burns. Those are the only guys that are in double-digit tackles for loss so far this season. And then the only one that has double-digit sacks this season being Matt Judon. So let's see what we got going on over here in the chat. Also, Sanborn, Taki, or Quay for LB3 this week. I'd probably play Quay of those 3.
Yeah, I think Quay is the way to go, and especially if Devondre Campbell's out, I think Quay is the play here. I mean, you could go Sanborn if you want to be, if you want to ride a rookie, but right now he's just kind of a tackle machine. I think Quay has a little bit more flexibility to score in other areas.
Yeah, and he has not necessarily always had all the snaps, and he's still been pretty good this year.
Mm-hmm.
The ultimate linebacker crew, Rodrigo, Werner, and Luvu. Shout out. Sounds like a boy band. Yeah, sacks give them a total of 12. Ooh, okay. So that league you was talking about, sounds like the sacks stack up even higher.
Okay, that's a big number. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what would that be? Like a 60-yard touchdown? 30 or 50-yard touchdown if you're PPR?
Yeah, I saw somebody asked me a start sit question this week, and they had 3 points for tackle and 3 points for assist, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like, so all your defensive guys are outscoring your offensive guys. And he showed me a stat of Justin Jefferson against, like Josie Jewell or something. And it's like kind of crazy how crazy.
I bet. Yeah. I mean, there's been a couple of guys that had crazy tackle numbers this year. I mean, if you start getting up that 16, 17, I mean, you could be pushing 50, 60 points and you haven't even actually made a really meaningful fantasy play. You haven't had maybe none of those are tackles for loss. So letting guys get down the field. couple of wins. Love those IDP wins. Love when you're counting on those guys and they come through. You know what I mean? Sack, tackle for loss. I mean, batted balls, whatever it is. You pay a lot more of attention all of a sudden, and it means something to you. You know, go get his jersey. Let him know.
Mm-hmm.
Got for free off waiver wire early last year. Love that even more too. And no better feeling in an IDP, just because again, we were talking about this before we came on. There's a lot of IDP content out there, but there's the quality IDP content for various reasons, whatever you call it. You know, there isn't a whole lot of that. And when you get a guy like Matthew Judon on your team, if you heard that early somewhere and they made that up for you, and now you have him on your team a year later. That's huge. I mean, he's only 30 years old. He's been one of the better pass rushers, but he was on waiver wire somewhere because somebody wasn't told, the proper information or whatever you want to call it, or wasn't hyped up the right way. So love to see that win. What we got here? We have Sanchi in here. He says, I have Cole Holcomb stashed on my bench, but what are your guys' thoughts on him rest of season?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he might not play this week, but if you don't need him, if you don't need him till next week or the week after, I have him up pretty high as far as linebacker. So I like him in the top 20 linebacker moving forward after he gets healthy. So if you've got the room to stash him on your bench until he's healthy, I like him. I mean, he outplays Jamin Davis, so he's going to be the number one guy every week, and I think he's a tackle machine. So I like him. I think you hold on to him if he's healthy.
Yeah, he'll have he's a linebacker. He'll be around for a while. I would definitely keep him. And like you said, those tackle totals, nothing overly crazy, but you probably didn't have to pay up much for him either. So he's returning good value. Any word on TJ Watt or Campbell? We said that Watt is going to be on snap count this week.
Yep, that sounds like I know people throw the word pitch count around, but I'm like, come on, we gotta be talking football terms here. Talk snap counts, but yeah, it sounds like he's going to be limited in how much playing time he's going to get this week. So he's going to be a risk reward type thing, play for you. And then Campbell, I know I looked at injury report and he didn't practice Wednesday and Thursday. Obviously they're probably practicing right now, so we'll have to kind of check back in on Friday. But generally, guys that don't practice Wednesday, Thursday, generally don't make it back for Sunday.
Yeah. If he's a go though, you definitely want to put him out there. Coming off not his biggest game, but the game before that was his biggest game of the year. And while it wasn't prolific by any means leading up to that, still double-digit floor you can count on. He's got a really nice ceiling there.
Yep.
TJ Watt my computer's frozen. TJ Watt plays this week. Please going this week. Yeah, I'm playing him 100%.
Yeah, it's hard.
TJ Watt on 20 snaps is worth your other DLs on 80.
Yeah, you probably don't have a better D line on your team. I mean, if you've got them, you play them. I mean, unless you're in some weird league where you manage to have one of those other top ones, but generally people don't have
a points per snap league.
I haven't seen one of those yet.
No, I'm sure some jackass has got one somewhere and he raves about it to anybody that'll listen. I got Jonathan Allen and Draymond Jones to replace. Did Washington not play this week? Oh, yeah. No, their bye week isn't coming up.
I think he's asking to replace somebody else. I assume he wants us to pick between those two guys, I think that's the question.
Ugh, why did I pull up a defense? That's gross.
I mean, I would start Jonathan Allen over Draymond Jones if that's the question.
Yeah.
I assume he's got to replace, or unless he's asking about TJ Watt, I'm not sure.
Yeah, what's up, Jared? Give us a little more clarity on that question. We would love to send you in the wrong direction. I mean, the right direction. Brad Gilbert says vets versus prospects, 2 DEs between Ebukam, Ward, Boogie, or Pascal. Oh, I like that. I like the way you frame that. Vets versus prospects. Man, I'm gonna miss Hubbard. Yeah, you don't realize how much you miss these boring ass players until they're not in your lineup anymore, and you're staring down the barrel of Ebukam, Ward, Boogie, and Pascal.
Yeah, Pascal snuck into my rankings this week, but
Boogie's the one who had that. He forced that turnover on Josh Allen, right? That was Boogie Basham.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't remember. I haven't been following him too much
I think the thing is, I think there's like 2 boogies in the league right now that are edge rushers. So
okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask you who are we
Boogie
talking
Basham,
about?
I think. Yeah, okay, so Boogie Basham. Okay, Boogie Basham is on Buffalo, so I know that was
Okay.
wrong. There is
Okay.
another guy named Basham though. I think he's the
Yeah, I
other
think
guy,
he's like a
the edge
yeah.
rusher.
I like Ebicon, but it says here he's got a questionable mark, so you'll have to look into that. But I currently have Ebicon ahead. Um, Once you get past that, I mean, I've got Pascal slightly ahead of Ward, but it's really just pick your favorite guy between
Yeah,
those.
pick your poison.
I mean, we're pretty far down the D line list here at this point that you just pick your favorite guy.
Yeah, I'm looking here too at the snap numbers for Boogie. I probably wouldn't play him. I mean, he's floating in that like 25%. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like I would that's one of those rare times where even if he was the most talented guy in the world, he's not TJ Watt. So I would eliminate him probably pretty easily from
Yeah,
my
he's
team.
not in my top 70, so
Yeah,
I don't have him.
completely
But
eliminate. Yeah, which one would you play over the other? Okay, so over Allen or Draymond? I'm
I
gonna go
went
Allen.
Allen. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully got that for you. Great job, guys. I have Devondre and Warner, so I need a flex. I can pick up Sanborn, Gay, or Christian Harris, or DB's Hamlin, Hooker, or Duggar. Ooh, so it must be pretty shallow league. Those are some pretty nice guys there. What are your thoughts? I'm gonna make this.
I mean, I would go with one of those linebackers that I think it disappeared. I forget the names. There was
I'll pull it up in one sec.
Harris, Sanborn,
I'm trying
and
to get this to where it's not covering your face. There we go.
okay. So it's Sanborn and Gay. So let me. Um, I would probably go Sanborn. I'm just reading. I'm just reading here that it says Shaq Leonard is out this week.
Oh, shocker! Didn't see that
Okay, yeah,
coming. I've
that.
never seen that come across the timeline before.
Yeah, well, it shows I'm on Fantasy Pros, and it's like he's in my rankings, and it says out now, which wasn't there before. So,
Making adjustments in
breaking
real
news
time.
here. But yeah, so I would go Sanborn over Gay. I mean, Gay's his snap counts can kind of fluctuate a little bit. You don't know how much
Yeah.
Andy Reid is going to play him. Sanborn, good matchup against Detroit. I think he'll get a bunch of tackles. Morrow really isn't the guy, but Sanborn, showing potential.
Is there a case here for Hamlin? Even though I know he's the DB of the group or one of them, but I mean 7, 7, 10, 12, a sack, half a sack back in the day. He's got a pretty nice floor. Gets Minnesota. There could be a little upside there. Feeling crazy? You want to throw in a DB over a linebacker, or is that sacrilege still?
For me, it's still sacrilege.
Sacrilege.
I have Hamlin at DB 11 versus Sanborn at linebacker 27. So they
Sanborn.
start coming close together. You can make an argument either way. I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I generally defer to the linebackers.
Yeah, and that's the right answer generally. I like to be crazy. I might throw in Hamlin just because I'm wild. And Groot is maybe injured. Boop, boop. Terrell Basham, that's it. Is his older brother. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, Brad. Takes a village. Your Bynum vision didn't work out either. Yeah, missed on that one. The backstory on that is like 3 weeks ago, I had a dream on Saturday night, and I told everybody, and the dream was in my dream, Xavier McKinney got a sack, and then that Sunday he got a sack, and then last week I had a dream Saturday night that Bynum got a sack. I don't know why I dream about this stuff. I'm crazy, but I told everybody on the live stream, I said, if it happens again, we might have something here, but it didn't happen. So.
I thought you were going to be Nostradamus. Your rankings might get a little bit
right?
better.
I was like, hey, if it works, it works.
Put some money on that, yeah.
Kirby Joseph, fool's gold. He plays mostly deep, but is so explosive. Yeah, you guys know my shtick. Where guys line up is one of the very last details that I care about, generally speaking. It's one of the least, it's important, but it's not the highest on my priority list. He had a good week this last week. I would say go look at what people said about Deshaun Elliott before this year. You know, I mean, things change, guys can change, situations can change. 10 tackles this last week. Fool's gold, I don't know. I feel like that's a little strong. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to what he's saying. I mean, you do want to keep an eye on those deep snaps. I mean, but production is production. If a guy's producing, then he produces. So, yeah, do I have Deshaun Elliott way higher? I mean, he's a
Mm-hmm.
better play, but Kirby Joseph also has some potential. I mean, I'm looking up where I currently have Joseph. I mean, it's got a questionable mark on him, but I mean, I've got him at DB 59. I mean, so pretty far down compared.
This is the best ranker guy, so if he's out, you should be out. Don't listen to me.
But yeah, there is some fool's gold to those. Generally those guys that play deep don't produce much, and so I put a little bit more weight into it. But Marcus Williams was proving me wrong in Baltimore earlier in the season. A couple of those other guys.
You could string together a fun narrative too that Justin Fields is so dynamic that he's going to get past that first line and that second line, and it's going to be up to Kirby Joseph, to really do it. So you could string that narrative together too if we really wanted to. But I won't do that. I'm with you. If you're ranking him at low 50s, I mean, he'll probably be sitting in. That sounds like game to me. So appreciate that, Kirby. Fool's gold. At least the word gold's in there, right? So maybe we can refine it. We'll do some alchemy. We'll come back this next week. Oh, I know. I just accidentally clicked out of this, but I want to draw everybody's attention here to the fact that Albert O was dropped in my Dynasty League. Just remember to hold certain things loosely in fantasy and hold other things tightly. Okay. And one of the things that you should hold most tightly to is production. And one of the things you should hold least tightly to is gas for players whose entire projection is riding on a deep metric you got to pay for. All right, there we go.
he was definitely a hot name on Twitter over the summer.
So hot, and you could only have one take, and that was that he was good or he was going to get good. It couldn't be that he's exactly what it looks like he is, and it's not that great. That wasn't allowed. No, because this graphic from this company with this guy's name on it says something. Anyway,
I'm more of a I'll play the middle. I'm not buying I'll hype on all these guys.
I think I had him ranked like 25. I was like, you know what? If you want me to bring him up my rankings, I'll put him at 25. All right. So trade Pittman for Keenan Allen. I want either of those guys on my team for real. So get rid of both of them. I don't know. What's your take on that? I know we haven't been talking offense, but if I can help people get out of dead weight, I like to help.
Yeah, I mean, I have Keenan Allen in one of my leagues, and he's been just clogging up my roster for every week. I'm like, when's he coming back? When is he going to come back? I haven't been following Pittman that much, but I think he's been underperforming as well.
Oh, he's been massively underperforming, and now he doesn't have a quarterback. Not that he ever had one to begin with. Again, another one of these guys that the deep metrics, the Knights of Summer is what I call them. There's hundreds of them on Twitter. These analysts, they're only good. And that's why you're so amazing, and I'm so glad you're here because you're good at this shit week to week. You don't need like a 6 or 7 month platform to like just refine and build your glass castle. You know what I mean? Like your shit's good every single week, and I really do appreciate you coming out here and spitting game for everybody. But Pittman is one of those guys where it's like there's not much there. There never was much there. He had 1,000 yards barely by the skin of his nuts, playing like a zillion snaps last year, getting like the third most targets in the league, and he barely made it to 1,000 yards. And people had him as a consensus top 12 receiver coming into this year. Consensus top 12 receiver.
Yeah,
even my ranking him in the 30s couldn't bring him down enough to get him out of the top 12, y'all.
Wow. Yeah, I think people influenced me to rank him a little bit higher, but I didn't draft him anywhere. I didn't.
What about Cody Barton? Where were you at with Cody Barton coming into the year? Were you
I was probably on the wrong side of that one.
I kept my mouth shut on that all year because everybody else did it. I was like, I don't have a strong opinion, but if I were, it would probably be the opposite of everyone's just because everyone is so sure of it. And
yeah, I mean, pretty sure I had him in the linebacker 30 range. Which is probably higher. It was better than most people, and I bought into Seattle defense having, somebody else has to produce next to Jordan Brooks. I mean, he's got potential. I mean,
He does.
he
My
didn't
thing
really.
was he'd been there for like 3 or 4 years already at that point, and I
Well,
was
yeah, I
like,
mean,
like we kind again, once a guy kind of shows you who he is, that's just who he is for a while.
you're exactly right. I mean, I bought him, I picked him up for free in a dynasty league in his rookie year, and I dropped him last year, and I'm just like, I can't hold him any longer. He is what it is, but then
It
an
looks like they're
opportunity.
losing trust in him. I mean, I don't know for
Yeah,
sure.
his snaps are way down. Yeah,
Yeah, he
you
was a
don't want to
special
have
team.
him.
He was a special teams guy before this. He kind of ended up with a default position, and yeah, it is what it is. You want Jordan Brooks, or you really don't want anybody. We'll field another off top. There's 2 more offensive questions, so we'll go ahead and answer them since we're getting close to the end here. Should I trade Olave? No, for Pitt.
Mhm.
Oh, for a group for Pittman, Dillon, and Jay Robinson. Ooh, that's actually a really interesting trade. I don't want Pittman necessarily, but at this time of the year, I don't really. I would rather be fragile and elite. I don't know if this is a dynasty or not, but if I'm a contender, I'm probably still just gonna stick with Olave because he seems like the best of that group.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm in dynasty, I would try to probably move away from being fragile. So I might, even though I don't like Dillon or Pittman right now, to get 3 assets like that, whose value in 2 weeks, the narratives can change so fast, could put them into a 1-for-1 kind of trade conversation for you. That might be a good move.
Yeah, I mean, generally, I go with the best player, which would be Olave here. But yeah, when you get 3 assets like that you could potentially sell off, yeah, if it's
Or play,
dynasty.
bye weeks. I mean, people forget. I mean, I always, one of my favorite things to do in the summertime is go back and look at the winning roster of the guy I played or whoever it was that won my league. And there's always like 2 or 3 names in there that like nobody had even basically heard of. You know what I mean? Week 3 of the NFL season. So, and it's, maybe that is AJ Dillon. What if he suddenly becomes crazy? So, like you said, if you can diversify assets and get low cap that could go high, that
Yeah, I
could be
mean,
it.
if I made that deal, I'd be probably looking to sell Pittman and see if
Oh
I
yeah,
could get somebody.
100%.
So
I
like,
wouldn't be talking about Pittman the way I do right now. I would suddenly be talking about how amazing he is, and if everyone's sending Pittman gifts, and then the second he hits like 75 yards and a touchdown, he's gone. He's gone.
Yeah. So I would probably by default stay with Olave, but I could see if you
you're a
think you
wheeler
can
dealer,
get some, if you're willing to sell those other guys off, you may be better in the long run.
Brad with the burn. Pittman now and don't play
No more
defense.
offensive questions.
IDP spots. Yeah, I know. Sorry, guys. Barnes and Rodriguez is out or Singleton. Barnes if Rodriguez is out or Singleton. I'll play Barnes. That's kind of know
Barnes.
slide in that spot.
Yeah, Barnes over Singleton. I mean, with Josie Jewell being back, Singleton's just not getting the playing time.
Yeah.
They basically, if Jewell is out, then Singleton takes the lead, and if Jewell's back, he takes the lead, and then either way, Jonas Griffith is in the second spot. So
play Duron Harmon. Yeah, I think he's kind of at this point he's a must play because I mean all the linebackers are gone, and then they just cut Abram, right? So he kind of by default is a starting defensive back, right?
Yeah, I mean, depending on what your options are, yeah, he's a pretty decent play. I mean,
or just abandon ship.
Get rid of everybody from the Raiders.
If you're a Raiders fan, there was never a better time to just jump off. I mean, you're already almost underwater. All right, we'll answer a couple more questions, and we're gonna get my man Leo out of here. Again, appreciate your time, brother. It's been really fun hanging out.
Thanks for having me on, Jordan. Appreciate it.
This is another offensive question, so we'll skip it. Sorry, Flex order Chino. Come back on Sunday. All right, Brad Gilbert, you'll finish this out here. We'll do this one quickly. Is Frankie Louvu for real? I defer.
That's a tough one. Even the team hasn't trusted him completely. I think us in the IDP community want him to get a full-time job, and he's looked good. He looked good at the first start of the season.
Mm-hmm.
They were playing around with even the green dot went from Shaq to Louvu to back to Shaq, and Shaq's now the 100% guy. I don't know where the snaps ended up last night, but I know
the whole
put up good numbers.
Disarray.
Louvu put up good numbers last week. do I trust Luvu even past this this next week? I don't know that I do. Do I trust what they're gonna do with him next year? It's just it's a guess at this point, really.
Yeah, he's showcased that he can be a guy, but I mean, so have guys like Perryman, and so have guys like Littleton, and so have guys like Joe Schobert, who are still floating around out there. So, again, hold lightly. Is he for real? We don't know. If right now he's real, right now, yeah.
Yeah, and the team has even they've even used him some off the edge, so it's like you don't even know how the team's going to use him. Which if he plays off the edge, that could sometimes cut into his tackle production. So you really don't know.
All right, so we got our last question we will be fielding today. It's from Brad. Rank the best for Dynasty, for a Dynasty hold, aka order of potential drops for any playoff push waiver wire. So he's got Dayo Odenigbo. That's the defensive end for the Colts. He's got Boogie. He's got Pascal, and he's got Isaiah Thomas.
That's a tough one. I know if you asked me at the start of the year, I would have gone Dayo, but I don't know that he's done much. I mean, and Pascal, he wasn't in my rankings before, and he's starting to make something for him. So, I mean, Dynasty hold, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm gonna defer to Dayo just based off what I knew going into the season. But
the nice thing is, whoever you drop or don't drop is going to probably be there for you to pick up if something changes.
Yeah, I generally don't get that too far down the D line list. I start my studs. I mean, I concentrate on the top 20 D line. Like I really don't get too far into those weeds.
Yeah. All right. One last question: Kirby Joseph over Barnes or Taki? No, not over. Not over. If maybe over Barnes right now. If Rodrigo isn't playing, then no. And then over Taki, honestly, I probably would play him over Taki actually.
Yeah, I'd probably go Taki. I'm assuming JLK's out, and I'm assuming Taki gets 80% snaps. He'll get some tackles. So I would go Taki.
Word. All right, let me see if I can get this pulled up. All right, well, IDP Army, Fantasy Football Fanatics, thanks for joining us. Go check out my rankings and Mace's rankings, idparmy.com. You can follow my man Leo on Twitter, Master IDP, and then his rankings. I know some of them are free, some of them are behind a paywall, but he also does tweets where he'll send out the top 2 dozen guys. So if you are interested in what those look like, and he sends those out a couple times a week so they get updated. So go give him a follow out there. Any last, or not last, hopefully not last, any goodbyes to wish the people as we roll out of here?
No, just good luck to everybody this week. I hope everybody gets another win under their belt and a little bit closer to making the playoffs and gearing up for the postseason. So good luck to everybody.
Yep, let's go win. Let's go take home some titles. Let's go kick in some doors. Do it IDP Army style. Show the world IDP Army is cool. Again, appreciate you, Leo. Shout out to everybody in the IDP Army. Shout out to all the guys that could not be here today. Shout out to Mace. It's Veterans Day. Appreciate your service, brother. We love you. And yeah, till next time. Adios.
Right. Thanks, guys.